Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mr. and Lady, thank you all for tuning into Kinetic Aesthetic. I am your hostess with the mostest, the man they call Germ. And it's Tuesday, so you already know what time it is. It is now time for sports talk. This week's edition is not going to be necessarily too beefy. There's not too much that I want to talk about. There's two big stories that I really wanted to touch on. Other than that, I might just have a couple of quick little tidbits. So there's not really much that I want to hint at in the intro right here. I don't want to give away too much. I really want to focus my time on getting into it. But with all that said, I do want to make sure before I go over into all the main topics, I tell you to like, follow, subscribe, and whenever you hear something that you feel like you have an opinion on or something that you can feel like you can relate to, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. Make sure you share this out on social media. It always helps to get the reach out. But aside from that, I want to tell everybody that I hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday. I hope you all are being amazing people like always. And other than that, I want to get into it. So get your feet up, get a snack, get a drink, get comfortable, because it is now time for sports talk to come right at you. All right, everybody. So the first story that we're going to be talking about is the recent controversy that erupted after LeBron James went on a media appearance. He was playing golf on a show for YouTube called Bob Does Sports. It just follows a couple of guys who usually have athletes on, and they'll just play some type of random sports game. And that is harmless enough, but when he was on this media appearance, he started making some comments about the city of Memphis that have riled a bunch of feathers and have rightfully pissed the people of Memphis off. Because just to get into the context of why it was such a big deal, Memphis has been getting shit on, especially by NBA players, a lot over the past couple of years. And it's not just them. You've had Stephen A. Smith, who did it most famously and did it most viciously, but it's been given the city a bit of a bad reputation. Although, because of, crime and other things like that, they have, had somewhat, they've earned it, especially when you look at who are some of their leading national figures. I just did an episode on Pooh Shiesty and Big 30, but it still doesn't justify what has been going on with a lot of these NBA players and just what I think is the real context and reasoning behind it. Now, in order to help y'all understand what I mean when I say that, I just have to give y'all this context and this previous history. They ranked 29th out of the 30 NBA teams in terms of their attendance revenue. So out of all 30 teams, they are second to last in terms of getting that revenue, of getting that arena sold out and shit like that. It makes sense when you think about how the team has been doing over the past couple of years, all the nonsense with Ja and, them going from a team that was on the rise to where they're at now. And I'm just going to be honest, I think that with the NBA already looking to expand, and then, whenever they start looking at expanding, they start looking at teams that maybe aren't performing as well and start looking at maybe ways to rectify that. And it sort of makes a little bit of sense. And just to sort of go along with what I mean right here. So it wasn't just LeBron. He is the biggest name player that has done this so far, but he's not the only superstar level NBA player to come out. The first one that I heard about doing this was Anthony Edwards a couple of years ago, when he talked about during an interview how the hotels in Memphis were just shit. He would like, whenever they would go on road trips to Memphis, they would end up getting in the hotels that had stains. They had shit all over the bed. And after he did this, you had Draymond Green, who came out and said the same thing, who pretty much talked about how they had an issue in a hotel where they were at in Memphis, where the sprinkler went off and it ruined all of a player Andrew Bogut's stuff. And, and the hotel didn't even want to do anything about it. Players have been coming out and saying, yo, there's a problem here. There's a problem with the hotels, and it's just not a well accommodating city in terms of the shit that you get when you go having to stay there for a night. However, LeBron is being who he is, it means a lot more when he's coming out and just going as far with the things that he's saying. Because this man wasn't just saying, the hotels are bad and that he doesn't like playing there. He was bringing up, why they should move the city to Nashville, why, they've got a NHL team, they've got a stadium over there, they've got this and that. And, just really just sort of like, it's one thing to just say you don't like the accommodations, it's another thing to say y'all need to just move this to a whole nother city in the state. And then just lastly to bring up Stephen A, and he said this before LeBron, but his was the worst. He brought up the city being unsafe. He brought up how he had sources that were talking about how they didn't want to stay there because of the safety reasons. and shit like that. And it just becomes very clear that maybe not fully coordinated, maybe not calculated or all the way down the line, but there is a very loud, I can't think of the word, cognizant of the NBA population, and I mean players and execs and things like that, that do not want the Memphis Grizzlies to stay in Memphis. And that's fucked up. That's not something that I support. I don't believe that Memphis has done anything to really warrant losing their team. I think that especially when you go back to the grit and grind era of the Grizzlies, when you go back to before Ja started having all the bullshit happen, the Grizzlies were a hype team. The city was embracing them. The city was showing them love. It's just what happens when a team in a city that already is not an A+ city, when they start to become ass and you don't really give those people a reason to show up, they're not going to have that same passion. They're going to have that same energy. I, for one, completely disagree with LeBron on them needing to move, and I just think that he's got to understand better. And his response when it was brought up to him after a practice wasn't any better. He started talking about how, there are just two cities that I don't like playing in. It's Milwaukee and it's Memphis. I don't like my home either, but like it's just dismissive. I don't think it's like he doesn't understand, and this is somebody who is smart enough to definitely understand what he said and why he should have maybe worded it better. So it's just disappointing. It highlights how, some NBA players can get a lot of good rep. You can never really just morally try to hold these niggas in too high of a regard, because they're always going to end up saying something that's misinformed or dumb, because they're human. Like I said, I don't necessarily know if this was something. I don't think LeBron was told to say this by anybody in the NBA higher up. I don't think this was we're trying to get Memphis out of there. We need you to go out there and start just softening the blow or anything. But this is definitely just highlighting a bad reputation and just a bad sentiment that has garnered for the city from these players. But I think that any of them that are just saying that it's going to just get fixed by just moving to Nashville, I think that's bullshit. I think, maybe you just need to find a better hotel to go to in Memphis. Maybe y'all just need to figure out some better accommodations, but you can't blame the whole city for that. And Stephen A. coming out and talking about the city being violent and having all this and that. Yes, Memphis has a violent reputation, but I don't think anybody out in Memphis is out there trying to victimize NBA players. I don't think that they are. I think the NBA players are going to have enough security, enough fucking influence to not just feel like they're just sitting ducks, or it's just silly. This idea that NBA players would not feel safe in Memphis of all cities. They play in Chicago, they play in a lot more cities that have a lot more shit going on. You're about to try to have a team in Vegas, which maybe not in terms of the violence, but just in terms of all the temptation, things like that. It just doesn't, it's not registering for me. This whole idea that Memphis is such a bad city, that Memphis is such a shitty place that y'all don't want to be there. Memphis is a city that has a lot of culture, it has a lot of heart. It's this fucking city, or it's the home, it's the heart of music. Like I am not here for it. I'm not here for this. I'm not even somebody that's been to Memphis, but I'm not going for this whole city of Memphis is so bad that it needs to be just like completely distanced from the NBA and things of that nature. This is just them being mad that they're not selling out. And you know what? If you're mad that the city is not selling out that a stadium and shit like that, have a better product. Get Ja away from that city. Go and get some players around there that are really going to be able to buy into the city and not buy into the worst parts, and then see what happens when you actually put a passable basketball product out there for the city of Memphis. I think that the tickets will go up. I don't know what they're doing with hotels. That's something that you got to just talk to those hotel owners about. But aside from all of that, this whole city of Memphis being such a negative and terrible place is a terrible move by the NBA. It's a terrible move by the players that are trying to give it that reputation, and it's just going to backfire on them. So the NFL does not learn. That is the only takeaway I have from this next story that we are going to be talking about, because it was reported, and this was happening right as I was publishing last week's Sports Talk, that the NFL has decided to give the go-ahead to some of their teams to start potentially hiring replacement refs, as they do not sense that there is going to be a resolution anytime soon for their contract dispute with the Refs Association. When it comes to my immediate thoughts on this, I am at a loss for words for how these owners can see what happened with the last time that they had replacement refs off with the Fail Mary and all that type of shit, how they can see how all that happened, how it affected the integrity of the game, and let it get to this point. And I've done a little bit of research. I've watched a little bit of information on this, so I do understand it's not as simple as just that, as we're going to get into. But this, at the end of the day, the NFL is making so much money. They're making record profits every year, somehow pushing the boundaries further and further, yet they still struggle to want to just pay up and pay these people what they want to pay them. And that comes to the players too. So one big sticking point in this negotiation, from what I've been able to read, is that the NFL Referee Association, whatever you want to call them, I can't think. I know it's not the PA. But one of the things they're trying to go is they're trying to extend the time for which they are not allowed to be called, to be contacted, or anything like that. They just want to extend for lack of a better term, their summer vacation. The NFL is trying to shorten it so that they can get them in quicker and they can start to try to get them a little more prepared, a little more up to speed, which is my first, little damn. I sort of see both sides on this, because I can understand the refs. They want to have that time. It is a busy job. You are training, you are being moved around, and you are having to do all this to just make sure these get to just fulfill your duties. So that time to them is important, where they get to not be on call, be able to enjoy their family, be able to enjoy time off, take vacations. I understand that aspect of it, and I don't believe that they are wrong for wanting the time. However, I think anybody that has been watching the NFL over the past couple of years has been able to notice that there are multiple times where it has just become like, what the fuck is going on with these refs? How is things getting this bad? Where it's just getting very ugly. Calls are missed. Calls are just called wrong, and it affects the game. It affects crucial shit. Like, you're talking about your team's entire season depending on a ref getting a call right, and then they're getting it wrong. So it's the type of thing to where I can understand both sides. I have no issue with the refs wanting to just dig their line in the sand on this one. However, I also understand where the NFL is coming from, because the refs have not been the best. This has not been like, just being a Bears fan, there were multiple times last year where they missed calls, where they got the shit wrong, and it affected us. It affected outcomes of games. And you don't want that to happen, because once you lose the integrity of the game, and once you really start to have to question whether shit is rigged and things are done like that, it's a stain on the game that you cannot easily scrub off. So the replacement refs coming in is something that is almost certainly going to affect the first couple of weeks. I definitely know it's not going to happen for the entire season. The longer this goes on, the more likely the NFL is to cave in, because at the end of the day, that's going, like, one thing that I don't know if replacement players is going to necessarily ever affect it. We already saw what happened when the NFL players tried to go on strike and they got scabs. I think at the end of the day, we can all, for most casual fans, they are following more so the helmet than they are the player underneath it, except for major names. But when you have refs who are just completely ruining your enjoyment of the game, when they're getting obvious calls wrong, it's going to affect how fans are able to enjoy the product, and I think that is something that will affect the bottom line. So make no mistake about it, this may go on until maybe a couple of weeks into the season, but if we reach week 4 and we're having it, and all these calls start to mount up that they're getting wrong, that shit is just not being called right, we'll have exactly what happened last time happen. They'll cave in and they'll pay them, because the replacement refs this is not going to be a good. You are getting college level and high school level officials trying to come in there and officiate a game at a level that they're just not used to. It's not going to go the way anybody wants it to. The NFL sets a April 5th deadline for applications, and they're training replacements in May. So all this could be happening as I'm recording this. And it's going to be shitty. So for anybody that is expecting the NFL to save them from whatever boredom they're going to have coming in September, be prepared to get pissed off. Be prepared to have a bad time. Because sadly, I think this is going to go just like the last time. And it's going to take a very big fuck up on a very big high-profile game, whether it be a Sunday night or a Monday night, for the NFL to finally just say fuck it and for them to cave. All right. So a couple quick hitters, couple last little things I wanted to talk about and just, share my thoughts on. First off, I want to give a big shout out to Illinois for making it as far as they did. I was definitely hoping that they were going to be able to win the entire thing, but for them to get to a Final Four and have that type of showing, I have none but respect for them. They're going into next year as one of those preseason top 5 teams, so you'll love to see that. I just love to see my state doing good and winning, so big shout out to them. I hope that they're able to have a great season. I hope all the players are able to raise their profiles, and I'd love to see a couple of them go crazy in the NBA. I also want to give a big shout out to Michigan for winning the whole thing. I'm not just trying to be one of them wishy-washy ass niggas. I want to make it clear right now, I've always been a big fan of the school of Michigan. I don't know what it is. I just love blue. So big shout out to them for winning the whole thing. Shout out to the Wolverines. Love to see it. Another thing I wanted to touch on and talk about, Jaden Ivey. I just wanted to continue speaking on him right quick. You still see a lot of people out here who are trying to make it seem like this is just about him saying things about the LGBTQ and how they actually support him and how what he said wasn't that crazy. I also want to just tell y'all motherfuckers, you're still fucking idiots. You're still just being willfully obtuse about what this is really about how this man is just, I am not calling him crazy and saying that he is losing it because he is like being more pronounced in his faith. I'm of the opinion that his mental sanity is losing its grip because this man decided to preach all of that over taking care of his family, over making the money that he could have made in the NBA and changing his family's life for generations. I'm choosing it because he is alienating himself from his family, who, it's not like his family was not Christian before this. His family still believes in God. Anybody in their right mind would tell you, you have such an opportunity in front of you. This is not what God wants you to do, is to throw this away. By condemning people and by telling everyone they're going to hell. There's a video that just released of him where he had his wife in it, where he's talking about, my wife believes in God too, and she's just begging him to get off of social media. So I say all this to further reiterate, like this, there's a lot of this going on in the world right now, where people are seeing people who are going through a crisis, Kanye West and shit like this, and motherfuckers are just trying to make it seem like they are just anointed because they are going against the status trend and they are going against the status quo. No, sometimes people are literally just going through a moment where they're having a mental episode. It's not the universe is out to get them. It's not they are just being persecuted by the evil. No, this nigga is just losing his mind. This nigga is out here literally publicly going through this shit and right now. And because he's using the frame of religion to have this mental battle, there's so many people who are willing to just look at it as, no, he's just being persecuted. Y'all are the ones who are crazy, not him. It's sad to see, and you know what? I hope that Jaden Ivey does eventually get the help that he needs. And lastly, what else did I want to talk about? I know there was one other story. Actually, no, I think that's it. That was just Jaden Ivey. Y'all motherfuckers is crazy. I hope that man gets the help he needs. That's it. With all that being said, everybody, I would like to once again thank you all for tuning in, for checking us out. I want to give you one little final reminder. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, do whatever you have to do so that you are notified and up to date on these vibes. And above all else, if you heard something or you are seeing something on your screen as you are watching these episodes that you feel a connection to, that you want to share your opinion on, do not be afraid to leave a comment. But like I said, this has been Kinetic Aesthetic and this has been Sports Talk. There wasn't too much for me to really rap about this time. Sports world is sort of going through that flux. College basketball is ending. We are gearing up the NBA playoffs, so there'll be more to talk about there. Baseball is really starting to get into the full swing, but it's a little too early in the season for me to really have too much of an opinion on things. And the NFL is in nothing but off-season talk, and we're not going to really have too much to talk about there in terms of league news until the draft. So I appreciate y'all for still tuning in, for still checking out this good little sports talk edition. And aside from that, that's all I really got for you. So you all continue to be good people, continue to drink water, continue to tell your friends and family that you love them, and just continue to be the best versions of yourselves. This has been Kinetic Aesthetic, though. I am your boy Germ. I'm out, and I'll catch y'all next week. But don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our further week of reviews when it comes to music and everything else. This has been your boy Germ, Kinetic Aesthetic. I'm out.